So this was SERP self-employment. Now talking about employee home office expense. I mean, probably the biggest news right now because it will impact almost everyone, and the people in this group will certainly be using this home office expenses. Now, let's first get a brief idea of what is this home office. The home office means CRA has defined it. Home office means when you are having workspace in the home, you use office supplies, and you can also have certain phone expenses. Now, in traditional method, how can you claim a home office expense? It's based on the size of your home space and workspace, type of workspace, and hours per week use of the space. I'll give you a brief idea. For example, I have just giving a hypothetical example, I have a 500 square feet of bachelor suite, including kitchen and bathroom. And I use 100 square feet just for work. I say that this 100 square foot, I have a nice big table and some things there. And I use it specifically, dedicatedly for my work because I do work from home. Now, so I can, for example, now I pay rent for it. I pay for utilities. I pay for different expenses. If you own it, you pay for mortgage, interest, and everything. So you can say, oh, my total, let's say rent is $1,000 for 500 square feet. Okay, I use 100 square feet, so 100 by 500 multiply by 1,000. That's the money I can claim as an home office expense, bearing in mind I have to also consider the hours per week of use of the space of work. So for example, if I'm using, I'm working 40 hours a week, and in a week there's a totaling 24 by 7, 168, 170 hours we have. So I have to again prorate that home office based on hours per week use. Okay, but this is very hassles come. It's not very simple to claim everyone. Now we are talking about almost like 80, 70, 80% Canadians who had to work from home compulsorily, or they were given an option and they chose it because of their kids for n number of reasons due to COVID pandemic. CRA, it will be very unfair from CRA if they ask everyone to do these kind of calculation. It will just increase their cost. They will have lots of errors, which will again come back to CRA's administrative burden, because now CRA checks it and they find mistakes, errors, whatnot. So to overcome that, CRA introduced new method applicable only for 2020. We don't know what's going to happen in 2021, but for the tax return for the year 2020, they gave us a new temporary flat rate method. So previously we only had one traditional method where we people who have claimed it or who have worked in public accounting know that we ask for the T2200 form. And there are some conditions like it should be part of your contract, employment contract. You should be working in numbers of percentage of hours at home. And it's not only limited, T2200 is not limited to home office, but it also includes other expenses like motor vehicle usage for employment purposes and everything. But now, in order to keep things simple, CRA said, oh, you work from home? We think that you might have incurred proportionate $2 expense per day of working at home. So if you fulfill all the criteria, for all the days you worked at home, you can claim $2 each at a maximum of $400. So though I know we might have worked Sundays and Saturdays too. So 2020 was like 365 days you are working from home only. There is no holiday like thing, but they have capped it to $400, assuming that you worked maximum 200 days at home in 2020. Now, what's the criteria for this $2 per day? You should have worked from home in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, of course, if you had it in your contract that, oh, I have to work from home regularly, you can opt for the traditional 2200 route. So don't worry if you had it, if you think that, oh, COVID-19 pandemic is a big buzzword, no, that's going to be fine. But that's first for claiming $2 each day flat method. You should have worked from home in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic. You should have worked more than 50% of the time from home for a period of at least 4 consecutive weeks in 2020. Now, this is really, really interesting because this, I can say, is the main criteria that you should have at least 4 consecutive weeks. And I will give more stress to consecutive because you cannot pick and choose, weeks and then say, oh, these are 4 weeks. No, it has to be consecutive and more than 50% of the time at home. So if you did go to office for a day, it's okay. You're still working more than 50% of the time. Okay. Claiming only home office and not other employment expense. Of course, if you are claiming other employment expense, then you should go to T2200 route. You do not have the shortcut of $2 each day. And the fourth and last criteria is employer has not reimbursed all of your home office expense. Bear in mind, we use the word all, not some. So if your employer has, let's say, reimbursed you 50% of the uh, expenses, you can still claim this $2 each day temporary flat rate home office expense. So you need to meet with all the 4 criteria in order to get the deduction. Now, apart from simple method, CRA also gave us detailed method, but detailed method is also a short form of a traditional method. Now, this is applicable mainly where you do not fulfill criteria of simple method, or else you have higher expenses. I mean, I use 50% of my home. My work is like that I use a lot of space and I have big expense. $400 is nothing for me. Don't worry about it. It's not that you are going to be capped at $400. You still have more room available. You can go to detailed method. The only thing here is, which is, kind of more administratively burdensome, is the 20 is asking for 2200 T2200 from your employer. Okay, and now let's see the criteria. Work from home in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic, or your employer required you to work from home. So it's not like if your employer gave you an option to work from home, that's fine. I mean, it should not be like you should be required to. If even if you had employers said that, oh, you can work from home, you can come to office, that's fine, and you chose to work from home, you do fulfill this criteria. Second criteria is worked more than 50% of the time from home for at least 4 consecutive weeks in 2020. That's similar to last uh, method. You have a completed and signed T2200S or 2200 from your employer. Now, this is very important. You need to ask your employer to give you to fill it. This T2200 form is nothing but basically kind of confirmation from your employer that yes, you were required to work from home and you did. So yeah, we get a lot of audits in here where CRA asks about this T2200 form. So make sure if you are going for the detailed method, you do have this as a backup. The expenses are used directly in your work during this period. So whatever expenses you are claiming as an home office expense, bear in mind that home office also includes office supplies if they are used directly in work. So yeah, all the expenses that you incur should be directly related to your work. Okay, so if you fulfill all these 4 criteria, then you can claim higher home office expense, I can say. But now you'll have to, while preparing your tax return, make sure you fill this form T777S. So who has people who have claimed this previously via T2200 route, you would have filed a form T777. Now this is a short version, so CRA has built up a new form. If you go online and check that form, that's very, very, very simple. They will just ask you about your home office expense details, and that's it, right? So yeah, and again, traditional method, the method that was used since years and years and years, is still available. So if you have any other expense, if you fulfill other criteria, don't worry about it, you're still eligible. Okay. Now, Again, if we did not dive into a lot of things, this is a really, really good and a big topic. But I'll highly recommend you go to CRA website. They have really explained it well in layman language, so you don't need to be a tax expert to know about the home office, especially for 2020. They have given certain examples on determining your workspace use. Like I said, the percentage, hours proportionate, uh, space proportionate, like you use 100 feet out of 500 feet, whatever examples we discussed. They have given really detailed examples considering different situation. They have given a comprehensive list of eligible home office expenses. My bad, sorry about the I could not do a spell check on this, but yeah, it's not lease, it's list. So they have really have detailed. For example, if you claim cell phone expense, they have given you the criteria. If you say, I mean, they have even broken down the office supplies. For example, if you are using stamp, whether that qualifies or not. If you are using pen, whether that qualifies or not. They have given a really comprehensive list of eligible home office expenses. So do check it out. And they have given COVID-19 examples of on alternative working from home and the office, working part-time from home and working from home for less than 4 consecutive weeks. So of course, if you're working from home for less than 4 consecutive weeks, they will say you don't qualify. Sorry about that, but still they have kept that as an example. So irrespective of what your situation is, do visit, just Google CRA home office or something. You'll get to that website. They have a really user-friendly system where you just select your position or situation, and then they will give you an answer what you should claim, whether you are eligible, and everything. And again, they have very detailed examples too. Now they also have guidance on how to calculate your expenses, step-by-step guides. So that's really good of CRA to explain all these things.